What's going on, everybody? John Eric Poli here with My MMA News, and today I'm talking to Julija Avila, who takes on Julija Stoliarenko at UFC Vegas 22 on March 20th. So, literally just in a few days here. Of course, we have this weekend's big card with Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad, so they'll be on the card the following weekend there. So let's bring Julija in here. Julija, how you doing? And thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be here, because I'm sure you're busy with the fight coming up in just over a week here.
Yeah, I'm super busy getting fine-tuned, and I'm really excited, really looking forward to it. So yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, no problem at all. It's my pleasure. And let's talk about the fight itself, then. Let's get right into it. Your opponent, also named Julija. Why don't you tell us a little bit about her and what you've seen in her so far as you've been preparing for this fight?
So she's super, super tough. She hasn't been finished, and her losses come by way of decision. So I know I'm not going to be able to knock her out. She loves that right elbow. She loves armbar. She has 8 armbar finishes. So, surprise, surprise, she'll probably go for an armbar. But I know she's a brown belt. I know she's the Lithuanian kickboxing that allows headbutts. So hopefully she knows the rule set, right? No headbutts this time. But she's tough, and I'm really excited. I think stylistically it's a really good matchup for me. Yeah, it's going to be a brawl, and I'm really looking forward to that.
So, I guess before we get more into the fight there, I just want to clarify there. They allow headbutts in Lithuania? How could that possibly be a rule? They not believe in concussions over there?
No, so it's like it's what she specializes in. It's a form of kickboxing that allows headbutts and some other rules in it. I don't train in that, obviously. I have a hard time remembering things as it is. So yeah, it's if she's a tough girl, if she can take that, then I'm sure she can take a couple punches from some little panda over here.
So, as you were saying there too, with all of that, she has a lot of finishes by armbar. Of course, she comes with a kickboxing background. Very well-rounded opponent that you have in front of you there. So, what's it going to take to beat her if she's, obviously so well-rounded wherever the fight may go?
Just being smart. I'm not going to rush and in order to beat her, I have to play my game and not feed into hers. She's going to try to capitalize on me bull rushing and me being predictable, as I have been in some of my previous fights. So I've worked a lot on my growth as a mixed martial artist and my skill set. And I was recently, well, not recently, I guess, right after my fight, I was laid off from my day job. So I've been a full-time athlete. And so I've been dedicating myself fully and completely into growing as a mixed martial artist.
And we're going to talk about that day job in a little bit here. But before we get into any of that, though, I have one last fight-related thing here. You just mentioned it here at the beginning. When I was prepping for this interview, I was watching your interview you did with one of our colleagues, James Lynch, who's a great guy, James. And you said the same thing to him that you just said to me. You're probably not going to knock her out. I've never seen a more honest breakdown. Like, usually people are, oh, they're going down, I'm going to drown them in the pool of their own blood, all this, like, nasty talk, with hyping up the fight. You come out, no, I'm not going to knock her out. So why just that honest of an opinion like that?
Well, I'm hopeful, right? I'm always going to be wanting that, but I'm not going to be searching for it. That's how people gas themselves out, throwing everything they have into every single punch. And no, I'm going to be strategic. I'm going to plan out my punches. I'm going to read my opponent. And if she leaves an opening for me, then I'm going to rip her throat out. But I'm not searching for that. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it to win it, obviously, as cheesy as that sounds. But I mean, if I see the knockout, I'm not going to shy away from it. Not this time.
Gotcha. So the Raging Panda's going for the throat. I like the sound of that. Now, Julie, if it's okay, I want to back up, though, to your last fight for just a brief second. You were on such a great run from 2018 into 2020. You had won 4 fights in a row. You made the decision to fight Sijara Eubanks on, I believe it was like a week's notice, which is hard to do. Obviously, you ended up on the losing end of a unanimous decision in that fight. But just tell everybody, like, number one, as to why you made the decision to fight on a week's notice, and just how difficult that is, because you don't have a full training camp. You're almost going out there and just fighting almost on instinct and just using all the tools that you've learned over the years, as opposed to really dialing in the skill set to beat one strict opponent.
Right. So there was a lot playing into that decision. I had been in training camp since January or February, since mid-February of 2020, because I had a fight that was scheduled in March, and then the pandemic hit and that was pushed off, and they told me I had a fight in April. Then that got canceled. I had another fight in May, that got canceled. I had another fight in June, and that one actually came to fruition, but my opponent took the fight on a week's notice because my other opponent couldn't make it. So that was great. And then I had another fight starting mid-July, that got postponed in August. So the fight was for August. That got postponed to September. That got postponed to October. And then it got canceled, and they offered me a fight on a week's notice. And I had already been in camp. I was ready for a fight. I wanted a fight at least twice last year. Well, honestly, I wanted to fight 3 or 4 times, but because of the pandemic, I was grateful to just be able to do it once or twice. So I took the fight. My game plan, or my analysis of it, was that Sarge was going to try to stand up with me because she's tried to stand up with everyone else. And her game plan was to take me to the ground. And I was not expecting it. She had a perfectly laid out game plan that was perfectly executed. And unfortunately, I did get injured during the fight. So there was things that I couldn't do that I normally could have. And so, I mean, props to her. She did great. She did amazing. She took me down at will. She didn't want to stand up with me. That's for damn sure. Yeah, if you look back at the fights, any time that we stood up, she said, "Oh no, we're going in," and she would shoot in. But she could take a punch, and she was tough as well. Yeah, I just, it wasn't a smart decision on my behalf, but you can't win big if you don't risk big.
So how stressful then just was all of last year? Not only you dealing with the pandemic, but you have a million fights booked, and hard getting any of them to actually come to fruition like that.
It was really, really difficult on me mentally and physically, especially physically. My body never got a chance to recover because I never knew when a fight was going to happen. And so I think this year and from here on forth in my career, I'm going to be a little bit truer to myself. I'm not getting any younger, and it definitely shows. And so my body needs the recovery time, and I can't just keep going like I used to. So I'm going to be a little bit more strategic and a little bit less lenient on what I do and don't do.
I say, so how much now in your career do you focus on the recovery aspect of it? Because obviously when you're younger in your career, you just keep going and going and going. There's no such thing as training camps. It's just you go to the gym every single day. How much of it is now is like taking that time to relax and to let your body recover properly?
So first off, it's very, very difficult for me to relax at all. I used to do ultra marathons. So I would go run in 30 miles, then do 2 hours of jujitsu, then go do hot yoga, and then, maybe have a snack and then go do a bike ride, that's 50 miles. So I am used to exhausting my body and being tired. And then having a job, a full 9 to 5, white collar job that I went to. So it was something like just running on fumes was easy for me. So I've never actually had the opportunity to recover. So now that I am recovering, I feel like a whole new athlete. I feel like a true mixed martial artist. It's still a little difficult. My active recovery is like doing a Peloton ride, or I'm still trying to do things. I'll go for a walk with my dogs, but my walks end up being 5 to 10 miles. So it's they get kind of mad, but I'm working on it, and I'm seeing a lot of benefit from it.
Always on the go. All right, Julia. Well, now that we talked about the present, we talked about the past. I do have one quick thing regarding your future here. You come into this fight ranked, I believe, at number 15 in the bantamweight rankings. Of course, you're fighting someone who's not ranked at the moment. Do you think you get this win here next weekend? Then the future's wide open for you. You could get somebody that's ranked in front of you, and then from there, be able to kind of start riding momentum and start climbing the rankings and climbing the whole bantamweight division here.
Ideally, that is what I would like to do. I would like to start climbing the rankings. I mean, I'm in this sport in order to achieve the championship. Otherwise, why do it? I can find better ways to get a paycheck. So I want to be the best. I want to climb the rankings, and I want to show that I'm supposed to be in this division. I'm supposed to be in the UFC. So yeah, I mean, ideally that's what I would like to happen. Now, whether that happens will be determined on March 20th, but I will do my damnedest to get myself this win and start climbing.
All right, now, Julie, I want to talk to you about your day job. I know you said that you were laid off at the moment, but for everybody out there, Julia is a geologist. And the funny thing was, I actually, back at July 2019, UFC 239, Julia made her debut. I actually was in Vegas. I was covering the fights I work for a TV station. In case everyone doesn't know this, I work for a TV station as well here in Pennsylvania. I'm actually laid off at the moment too due to the coronavirus pandemic. But anyway, I was out there on the coverage that night, and the day before the fight that night, there was an earthquake in Las Vegas. Julia, do you remember this? You were like the woman of the hour that night. When you came back for your post-fight interview, yeah, okay, they asked you about your fight, but everybody was asking you questions about the earthquake. Do you remember that?
The good Lord had blessed me with my 15 minutes of fame, and I was so excited to be able to tell people like how to properly react. And there were actually two big earthquakes there, and I was super excited about them. I started searching like where it happened, what fault it was, and it was so cool, so much fun. Every time I go into Vegas, I geek out on the outcrops, and I'm, yelling at my husband, like, look at that. It's so cool. Can you imagine this was all underwater and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, I know. I lived here for 7 years. But like every time I fall in love with the scenery. I fall in love with the outcrops, the rocks. It's just so beautiful to me and so inspiring. So I did get my 15 minutes of fame with my geology. And actually, my manager made a spoof with South Park, and they used my likeness in one of their episodes. So that's pretty cool.
I didn't know that. Okay, so wait, is this something to do with because Randy Marsh, obviously, in South Park, he's a geologist. Did you have something to do like with one of his scenes? Was that it?
So the spoof that my manager had put together, yes, it did have Randy on it. But in the episode, it was they used my likeness in one of the episodes, but it wasn't geology related.
Okay, I gotcha. So one other thing too from that card, I forgot. Yeah, there was actually the two earthquakes. Did you happen to feel them? Because me and my family, we didn't end up feeling them. Like we were actually out there it worked out like where the fights were happening around our vacation. So I kind of tied work in with our vacation. So I was actually at the Gwen Stefani concert, and I have text messages galore coming in like, hey, I saw there was an earthquake in Vegas. I know that you're there. And I'm like, I'm not feeling anything. I'm at a Gwen Stefani concert right now, actually. So everything's going on as normal here.
No, yeah, we did feel it. So one of them was, I think, during the day, and everything was shaking, and we were by some buffet, and there were slot machines, and so things started moving back and forth. And my husband, he was such a jerk. He's like, "Oh my God, everyone run!" And I was like, "No, no, everyone, calm down. It's okay. Just stay away from the walls." And I actually helped move someone in a wheelchair and everything, and it was totally fine. But my husband's such a butthead sometimes.
What are husbands for, though, right? So one other thing, though, or a few other things here with geology, I just want to ask you about, because I find it interesting that you do this. What makes you want to be a geologist in the first place? Like, how does one come to this like career path, like coming out of high school? You're just like, oh, I love the beauty of the world so much that I want to study it further?
Actually, so I was in math and science and engineering program all throughout high school, and I was doing engineering programs in colleges during my summers. So I've always, and that engineering program throughout high school was focused on the oil and gas industry. And so I knew I wanted to be in the oil and gas industry. And I actually started my collegiate career as a chemical engineer, but I transferred universities. And so I finished my degree in geology, which is a class that I started taking while I was in high school. So honestly, I fell in love with not communicating with people. It's the same thing with MMA. You don't have to talk to anyone. You just punch them in the face, right? I'm actually a little socially awkward, and I don't really know how to deal in social settings. And so being a business person would not really be in my wheelhouse. It was either this or probably be an accountant, because I'd be dealing with numbers and not people. But yeah, so I like licking rocks, I guess.
So I know you said that you transferred universities. Where did you start out? Where did you end up finishing?
I started out at the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, and I quickly realized that the Midwest wasn't for me at that point in my life. And so I finished my schooling at UC Santa Cruz. Go Slugs.
I'm a big Notre Dame football fan there, so how about that? I thought when you when you were said US, or I thought you were going to say USC there for a second when you said Santa Cruz, and I was like, you can't transfer to those schools after Notre Dame's football program and USC. They're two rivals, so I'm glad it wasn't Southern Cal.
Yeah, I know. I probably would have been lynched.
I would hope not. That's a little extreme. Julie, though, I have to ask, since I know you're laid off, you're doing the whole pro athlete thing now. Do you plan on going back and being a full-time geologist when things settle down, or are you enjoying being able to focus on your mixed martial arts craft and focusing all your time to being a professional athlete?
So I am looking at an opportunity where I would still be able to use my degree, and I would be able to kind of make my own hours. So I don't know. I'm looking at my options. I'm not going to fight for the rest of my life. I definitely want to start a family, so I need to look at the longevity of my career, both in and out of the cage. So I think I have a good solid like 5 years left in me, depending on where my career takes me in MMA. But I would love to get back and work behind a desk. I love the data, and I love being useful. So I'm probably going to be working still somehow, some way. But as far as whether it be in the oil and gas industry, I'm not sure. It's pretty tumultuous, and I got a lot of gray hairs from it.
I say it's a stressful job. You have a lot going on there. You're just doing the oil and gas industry there, but you have like people studying volcanoes. Of course, we said earthquakes. There's so much going on with that degree there. But Julie, I appreciate the time today. I know we spent a lot of time talking about a lot of different aspects. We're coming up in 20 minutes here. I just have two quick things for you here before as we wrap things up. The first one I have to ask, I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but it's the first time we're doing this interview, and I actually don't know the answer to it. So in case anybody out there doesn't know the answer to it, your nickname's amazing, the Raging Panda. How'd you come up with that?
I just really like pandas. And my manager, he was like, "Well, you're actually kind of a savage. You're kind of crazy when you're in there. You're like the raging bull. What about the raging panda?" And so I would love to take credit for coming up with raging panda. Panda has always been in my nickname that people would call me Panda, but Raging Panda was definitely from Mikhail.
Well, it is a badass nickname, so good job there, guys. And then, Julie, the last thing, social media management, sponsors, anything like that you want to plug, please feel free to do so. The floor is yours.
All right. So please follow me on all social media platforms under at Raging Panda MMA. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter. It's really fun if you follow me on Twitter during the fights. I'll be doing some live tweets, and they're pretty awesome. Sometimes they get censored, but hey. And Facebook as well. Heck, you can follow me on Peloton at Raging Panda MMA, and we can work out together. As far as my sponsors, make sure to check them out on Instagram. I post about them all the time, and you'll often get some codes so you can get a percentage off on your purchase. So thank you so much, Panda Nation. Love you guys.
All right, Julia, thank you so much for the time. And if you're one of those people that like working out, you want to join Julia on Peloton there, just be advised it's going to be a tough workout. The Giro active she is, a light workout's a 5 to 10 mile walk. So just be prepared for that if you want to join her on Peloton. But Julia, thank you so much. I know you're busy with the fight coming up here. We appreciate the time today. And as always, before I roll out, just want to remind everybody, subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you do, you'll see more great interviews like this one that you just watched. Also, keep going to MyMMANews. Great content comes out there on a daily basis. And make sure you go to our social media accounts and give us a like and a follow as well. We'll see you later, everybody.